project. That's the thing, one of the main questions is the legality part. And that was one of the things that came up 2 years ago when we started this. And we were assured that there's absolutely no problem with legality, that we could go ahead and do it. And now 2 years later, it's coming back to bite us. So that, they won't give us an opinion where 2 years ago we were assured that it wasn't a problem. It was.
The due process takes time, but I think the due diligence we're doing, I think, you know, I believe we're doing it right, but I believe that we're doing it in the order that it needs to be done. And once we have that opinion, hopefully we'll have the authority to do it now and go forward.
I said some comments too, and like Tim, I wrote them down, so I say, you know, without meandering around too much, but just some things about the project, like Harold brought up here this over the past 2 years, so that everybody's aware of how things have changed. You know, everybody, I read this a lot, but, well, nothing's changed about the project. It's the same thing was there 2 years ago. Well, it's not. And as Harold also mentioned, I think from the board standpoint, I don't think there's a person sitting at the table here that disagrees with what people have said, the good things that fiber can do. And when I'm still on the Joint Powers Board, I was chair of the first year of it. But the concern that I had from day one, as our board has, is the financing package to it. It has nothing to do with fiber. It's more on what are we setting up here? You know, this is the change, but I'm just going to go on. Because over the past year, the project business plan discussion is centered on bonding coming in at 5%. Now we are hearing that it could work at 5.5%, and now after our meeting yesterday, we're hearing it could come in over 5.5%. And since I've been on the board, we're saying it's been said from the board standpoint that 5.5% is either pretty iffy if it's even going to work. Now we're saying it's coming in maybe over that. Some paperwork even shows that some of the bonds going in at maybe even 6.5%. The target keeps changing. The business plan has always stated a 30-year payment plan. Now, in the past 3 weeks, there's been talk of extending it to 35 years, and apparently as of yesterday, it is 35 years. The 30-year plan would cost approximately $140 million over the duration of the bonds. We got 15,000 people in this county. There is no business in this county that has that kind of dollar amount on it. Extending it 5 more years will only add to that cost. Extending the pay period so the payments are lower raises the question as, is it too expensive? Should we be buying it? The county's bond counsel is Dorsey Whitney. They brought up some concerns that they had about our involvement in the project. Currently, the county is responsible for 40% of any financial shortfall. They stated in other situations that they have dealt with that the agency with more financial liabilities also has more voting authority. The county, under the current situation, has the same voting authority as a city that only has 3% obligation, and some of those cities aren't even in the county. When this is brought up, as of just 2 weeks ago, our last meeting, a member of the Joint Powers Board said that, well, it's the same amount on a per capita basis. We're the same. Maybe so. One individual even said it, to make this kind of change would take until December. It should only take passage of a resolution, I would think, like it's going back to every council right now. I don't know why it would drag out to December. The county is being accused by an email floating around this last weekend of trying to stall the project. The truth of the matter is that the bonding firm of Oppenheimer that requested each city and county to get a bond counsel opinion a few weeks ago has stalled it. And we have had difficulty finding any attorneys who represent a bond counsel firm that are willing to do it. This also raises a concern to the county. So far, 4 bond counsel firms who have declined to request to give a project favorable opinion. Now, as of yesterday, a fifth firm has finally agreed to give an opinion. That means that 4 out of 5 firms contacted would not give an opinion on this project. This firm gave her contract terms yesterday. It is also a little discerning. The county paid our bond counsel, Dorsey Whitney, $5,000 to give us opinion on the project, which they later declined to do. The same thing can happen on this. They can give an opinion, but we don't know what that opinion is. But they want $70,000 up front to do the work. That's the way it operates. The contract terms of the new firm, McCray Shane, is going to charge $70,000 for their opinion of the project. It could be favorable or not. We will not know until they complete the research. When it was asked by a county commissioner if our share would then be 1/13 of the bill, we were told no. It would be 40% of the bill, or roughly $28,000. Again, our voting authority is the same 1/13 as everyone else, but our financial obligation is 40%. That doesn't seem very equitable in anybody's work. And just finally, in the past 3 weeks, the commissioners have been contacted by numerous business owners, farmers, township supervisors, and even some citizens who signed off on pledge cards. They are expressing to us that we need to seriously rethink what we are doing with this project. Much of this has been only because recently that they're starting to pay attention to the finance side of it. Let's leave it with that.
So I think we're still in the same position where we were 2 weeks ago, that when we get the final approval. And the question is if we're gonna go ahead with the,
I'd like to throw out a couple other things, and this is, I don't know, an email that went out to the cities. Like, I don't know if I was supposed to get it or not, but I didn't, but it was forwarded to me. And this came from, I found out yesterday, I was thinking it came from Mark Erickson, but he said it came from the executive board of the Joint Powers Board. And what's interesting about this, and what kind of concerns me again, we just had a Joint Powers Board meeting. This stuff wasn't discussed at that Joint Powers Board meeting. And all of a sudden, emails are going out to city councils to come here today and show your support, which is great. But some of the other things in it say this: we have run out of time for the commissioners to decide whether rural Sibley County will participate in the fiber project. What's interesting to note on that is that 2 other cities have basically stated that they are not going to go forward with this thing. One of them saying they won't go forward unless Sibley County does. Another one has said the same thing we have, is that we are not going to approve bond council opinion until we see it. They're not mentioned in here, so it isn't just Sibley County. The commissioners have adopted delaying tactics, coming up with side issues. $70,000 is not a side issue to me. I think that's pretty important and needs to be dealt with. They're coming up with side issues, revisiting issues that have already been decided in an effort to delay their vote. A recent email from one of the commissioners, and I take for granted that's right, I requested to revisit this voting thing, how unequitable I think it is. That's going to take till December. Why it should take more than a week, I don't know, but it's there. October 30th is the deadline for the county to vote to include the rural area. That number has never been discussed at our public meeting. And it goes on to say, now we need to know by November 1. And a famous quote that's been said most of the year, and as Mr. Nielsen brought up, there's risk. There's risk in this thing. But what's saying here, there is very little risk of failure in this project. I don't know how many times we've heard that. There is risk, and we need to do our due diligence, and we need to know what's going on with this. But there's more side issues going on with this project than just, do we want to get fiber to everyone in our county? I don't think there's any doubt that we do. But if it's gonna cost us an arm and a leg to do so, if there's all these risks, if these other issues are coming into it, I think it needs to be looked at. It has nothing to do with the greatness of fiber, nothing.
If I had it all to do over, I would have suggested at the beginning, we had some sort of a forum for negotiations when we get into tough issues. I didn't do that, and I apologize, and I should have. I've been on a lot of boards for negotiations where a lot of, with staffs and stuff, that's, that's
I think,
just water over the dam.
I think part of the thing that bothers me to some extent, just as an individual, that these things are brought up. I mean, everything that I talked about here, the interest rate, for example, brought that up at our last joint powers board meeting and said, you know, what we really need to do as a group is to let's put a vote out there and let it be known what interest rate that this group is willing to accept. What's the ceiling that we are actually put our line in the sand, basically. And the reason that I was requesting that is that we could make that decision with cool heads and sitting here talking about it, discuss it before it's on the burner, we gotta have an answer tomorrow. We don't make good decisions on the spot like that. But that went by the wayside. Everybody's saying, well, it's all gonna be by business plan says it's okay. You know, if 5% interest rate a year ago was sufficient to cash flow this plan, knowing the numbers of people that have signed up on pledge cards, it should be a heck of a lot better off, I would think, than now all of a sudden we're looking at maybe it's going to be over 5.5. I would think there'd be no question about it being even lower. Because the numbers, I mean, like Cindy and these people have been out there just, beating the bushes, getting people to sign up. That should be a positive thing to this thing, not cause the plan to go forward. And now we're looking at going 35 years versus 30. Where'd that come from?
I usually don't say too much on this because he was on the board, and he's the most knowledgeable person about it, and I agree completely with Jim. And in the real financial world right now, if you were here a little earlier, we got our bonds renewed for 1%. Any bond over 5% is junk, considered by the financial people in New York City. So that's where we're at. 35 years is too long for any project. Things will be changed by then. Our system will be outdated. I agree fiber is great. My computer runs too slow. I wish we could get this thing working. But in the end, us five have to stand up and be responsible. And it's very hard to do. Everybody wants these great new projects and these great new toys, but we are the ones that have to be responsible. And when I was campaigning, I said, I will not raise the taxes on Grandma. She can't afford anymore. I have many people in my district that are on fixed incomes, older ladies that can't. They plead with me. People working construction that haven't had a raise in a couple of years. Jim, don't raise our taxes. Jim, don't raise our taxes. Well, we raised our levy by 4%. The last 2 years was 0. That comes to 1.3. And it was tough. We fight over $1,000 bills sometimes for quite a few minutes trying to save money. Most of the work we do is trying to save money. This thing is blown completely out of control. We can spend more money on it, but it probably won't work. I love fiber. I wish my computer worked faster. I wish UFC could do everything they can in the field. But we're a small county, losing population. And at that, I'm going to put this thing to a vote. I'd like to make the motion that Sibley County drop out of the RS Fiber project.
A motion on the floor.
No public comment?
Got a motion on the floor.
I'll second it. Just do a vote.
We'll second it to drop out. We have a motion and a second to drop out of the project at this time.
Why do we have to vote on it now?
We have to vote until we get this.
We probably don't have to vote on it now, but we're going to continue to put money into this project that probably won't go through. We had 4 attorney firms did not give us an opinion. Why would the fifth one be better? 3 strikes and you're out usually. $70,000, when we're struggling to build roads, County Road 8, we have a big problem trying to find money to get the roads in passable condition in this county. We have plenty budget problems. I guess I got a little heated on this. I haven't said much very long, but the idea of a bond at over 5.5% interest when we're getting our bonds at 1%, any logical person can figure there's got to be something wrong. You won't go to the bank and get a loan for a house. If you have bad credit, you're going to get a loan for around 3.5%, even if you file bankruptcy. There are no 5.5% house loans.
I guess the other issue is that the fire board has requested.
They requested a drop dead date of October 30th, and this has come before us. And it'll come before us every 2 weeks unless we act on this, and it's probably time we act on it to cut the losses.
One issue, I guess, that part of this, if we would vote forward on this, is that it lets the cities and Glenville County know that if this doesn't pass, or it does pass, that the $70,000 out there for the opinion is going to be shared among them. That's one less entity out of it.
Right. I cannot feel responsible letting the city spend $5,000 and not get anything for it. $5,000 in the cities will do a lot yet.
I think this was brought up at yesterday's meeting. I don't think, you know, up or down, whichever way it goes. I just feel that we're doing an injustice to the cities, that if we would stay with this project and then pull out on them after we hear an opinion, I think we need to make a decision at this point, just to be fair to them.
Mr. Chair, I ask for a roll call vote.
Okay, could you read back the motion?
Mr. Chair, the motion is fairly straightforward. There's a motion by Commissioner Meaden to simply drop out of the fiber to the home project. It is seconded by Commissioner Swanson. So, shall I call the roll call?
Yes.
Joy Courts? Jim Meaden?
Yes.
Carol Pettit?
Oh.
Bill Hinsky?
Yes.
Jim Swanson?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's a 3-2
Me too,
to approve the drop in.
Thank you. You know what you're there. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
We go to stay with us.